Hi, I'm TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast, and I ask that you like, share, and comment on this video. Thanks for watching. All I gotta say is, who dat?
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Appreciate the love, appreciate the support, and I hope everybody likes the new intro for the State of the Saints podcast that we have right now. This is the official start of season number 6 for the State of the Saints podcast. For 6 years, the State of the Saints podcast has been a thing. And, you know, first off, I want to thank everybody that has had something to do with this show, rather you watched consistently, rather you call in consistently, rather you do anything, send information, emails. Thank you so much for helping the State of the Saints podcast grow. And looking forward to seeing what year number 6 has to offer for the State of the Saints podcast and also for the New Orleans Saints. But I feel like it's only right that we talk about a great New Orleans Saint, and I'm talking about Michael Thomas to kick off season number 6. Michael Thomas, to me, when healthy, the best wide receiver the New Orleans Saints have ever had. And I say that wholeheartedly. And I understand that some people may look at this and raise an eyebrow because Colston has come through the door and Joe Horn has come through the door. Make no mistake about it. Michael Thomas, depending on, if none of these things have happened over the last 2.5 years, he definitely is him. But Michael Thomas has been in the news. He was in the news because he has got himself back into really good shape. And, of course, he, if you didn't see it, he actually made a video of him deadlifting. He deadlift 530 pounds. Okay. I mean, that's pretty impressive right there. I mean, that's a really good feat of strength. You know what I'm saying? That's almost, that's a little bit more than, half of 1,000 pounds. 530 pounds. That's pretty doggone impressive, but he got it up there. And, of course, it's been making his rounds. And it's also funny that after the video came out, the NFL asked him to submit a drug test. But this shows you how confident Michael Thomas is at making a comeback. This is really just shows you the commitment that he has. We know that Michael Thomas has a really strong work ethic. He just got the short end of the stick when it comes to attrition over the last couple of years. Dealt with that deltoid injury with his ankle that happened in the first game of the season back in 2020. And he hasn't been the same. He has, been gone for the majority of the season. I think he only played like 10 games, if I'm not mistaken. And this is weird because this guy, before the injury, he was the offensive player of the year. And I don't think you just fall off a turnip truck and that feat happens for you. It comes with hard work. It comes with dedication. And I think that Michael Thomas, is dedicated to making a full comeback in 2023. I think that some comments that fans may have about Michael Thomas, his commitment to the team, him wanting to be in New Orleans. Well, he had an opportunity to leave, and I'm pretty sure that a team would have taken a flyer on Michael Thomas. Now, the money might not have been there, but if he just wanted to leave and just wanted to go somewhere else that wasn't New Orleans, he could have got an opportunity to do that. But he decided to sign a one-year deal. It's more of an incentive-related deal. He basically betting on himself. And, now he's going to go into 2023, hoping that he can change his portfolio going into 2024. And as long as Michael Thomas is healthy, to me, I don't think that there's any drop-off. He played in a few games in 2022, and he looked just like he did when, before he got hurt. I mean, he was out there catching touchdowns every week. I don't need to tell anybody about their fourth quarter comeback. He had 2 touchdowns in that game in the fourth quarter to help facilitate the comeback against the Atlanta Falcons. His talent has never been in question. Though I don't understand why people just don't understand that. It's just the fact that he's been injured, and the fact that he's been injured, he hasn't gotten the opportunity to really show what he has. And I understand the world that we live in is out of sight, out of mind. When you're not in everybody's face all the time, people have a tendency of forgetting about you. They also forget about some of the contributions that you made to the team or to the NFL as a whole. And I think that Michael Thomas is a guy who walks around with a chip on his shoulder. The whole, shush campaign that he had, and during his younger years in the NFL, it was because that he felt like he was slighted. He felt like he was one of the best wide receivers in football. But of course, you had so many other wide receivers that were drafted before him. So, that whole campaign started. And then everybody started to realize how good he was. And unfortunately, he had a string of injuries. But hopefully this is an indication of what Michael Thomas is going to bring forward. We already know that he has unbelievable strength. He has great physicality. And we know that he can win those 50-50 balls, and almost never get jammed at the line of scrimmage because of his hand fighting ability. But Michael Thomas poised to make a comeback. I am not getting excited about a tape. I want to make that very, very clear. This happened last year. With all due respect to Michael Thomas, this happened last year. He came out. He put some training videos together, him running, and stuff like that. And we all got excited about it. Look, I don't need to see Michael Thomas running. I don't need to see Michael Thomas deadlifting 530 pounds, because I feel like doing stuff like that, it feels like you have to prove something to somebody, which I already knew he was strong, and I already knew he had enough speed in order for him to get separation away from cornerbacks. I'm more concerned about Michael Thomas being on the field consistently for say more than 10 games in 2.5 years. That's what I'm concerned about, and that's what I want. And that's what I feel, if this can come together, then we know that the Saints will be in a really good position, because Michael Thomas is a really good wide receiver. So that's the way I feel about it. I don't feel like the NFL should have drug tested him. I feel like that was kind of whack. But at the end of the day, I like the energy. I like the motivation to try to get back to who he is as a wide receiver and what we know he's capable of. But let's go ahead. I'm going to read some of your comments. Just want to let you all know, it won't be a long show today. I got something really important that I need to take care of immediately following the show. So I'm only going to be on for a little bit of time. Okay. So I apologize if I don't get to your questions, right offhand. But I'm pretty sure, if you have that question and you feel like it needs to be, addressed, or you want me to answer it, I encourage you to just wait for the next show and make sure that you put it in there. But I'll try to get through as many as I possibly can before we end the show here. Let's see. Let's go ahead and start with Jerry. Jerry says, like the song Janet Jackson saying, "Funny how time flies when you're having fun." Congrats, TJ. Yeah, I mean, look, it's been crazy. It doesn't even feel like it's been 6 years, but it has been. We started at 2018 season, and we've been going ever since. And man, we still got work to do, man, because there's still people out there that's not aware of the State of the Saints podcast, and we definitely want to touch that audience, because we want to provide a platform for Saints fans. There's several out there, that's available, and and I'm happy for them. But I would like to be one of those as well, and we want to continue to do that. I think that, and I say this humbly, I just think that we're one of the best Saints podcasts out there. I don't think that we, I think that we provide a really, really good content for individuals that are Saints fans. And I enjoy doing this every single week. Agreed, Keno. To smash the like button. Brother TJ never disappoint on his content. Well, thank you, Chemo. And I try not to. I try to. Some things may be hit and miss, but one thing that you can know for certain, like I never phone it in, and I'm always thinking about ways that I can improve the content, the podcast, rather it's bringing individuals on the show, rather it's creating little parodies for people to enjoy, or even just highlight reels. Like I just want to make sure that this is a fun experience. I take this very serious, and I love what I do, and because I love the New Orleans Saints football team, and I have love for every individual that ever watches or listens to anything that I do. I appreciate that. Let's see. I believe Mike T will bounce back this year if he's healthy. Right around 1,200 yards is my prediction. Well, even if it is 1,200 yards, I ain't got a problem with that. Even if it's like close to like 1,000 or something like that, I don't have an issue with that, because you have a supporting cast. I think that, to me, it's probably the best supporting cast that Michael Thomas had around him since maybe his rookie year, when he had like Willie Snead and Brandon Cooks. It's been a minute since he had like a collection of wide receivers that can match his energy. Like Chris Olave, I feel like going into year 2 will take that step forward, probably gaining some muscle, also gaining some knowledge. The game's slowing down a little bit for him. I expect the same thing from Rashid Shaheed. Brian Edwards, rather, is a really good, solid receiver as well. And I'm pretty sure that the Saints aren't finished with maybe adding a wide receiver via the draft. So there's going to be a very talented wide receiver room for Michael Thomas to be a part of. And also, I just feel like the Saints aren't done once again, because even though Michael Thomas signed on the dotted line, even though Michael Thomas is deadlifting 530 pounds, you still got to go out there and think that there's a possibility that he can miss some time. And I just think that you may need to continue to look for wide receivers that can maybe, have a similar skill set to him, have the capability of possibly matching the same skill set that he has as the years go on. TJ, why does recency bias and revisionist history plague our society? I ask because it's so funny how quick people, including some in this chat, have turned on Mike T during his injury struggles. It's because it's a whole out of sight, out of mind thing, Keen Arthur. That's what it's all about. I don't even think it's anybody's fault. Like the world that we live in today, and I'm probably going to lose some of you, it's probably not, it's not like how it was when I was growing up. When I was growing up, and I'm pretty sure you too, Keen Arthur, because I think I'm maybe like a few years older than you are, but it wasn't so much information that was out there like that. Like the information was there, but you had to go out there, you had to go to the library to find it. If you're fortunate enough, somebody in your family may have a computer where you can search the internet to find some information. But for the most part, what was going on in your community, you found out through the Times Picayune newspaper. I'm talking about growing up in New Orleans, or, like from hearsay, like the town choir or the neighborhood choir. Man, you heard, man, they had a fight down there on Desire, bro. You heard about that? Nah, I ain't hear about it, man. Hey, man, you heard, man, they had a fight on the Galvez bus. Like it was like that. But now it's different, right? Like we go from one particular thing. I tell you, okay, I'll give you another example. People know that the situation that happened in Rolling Fork, Mississippi, that I constantly talked about, right? The tornado that came there, and it was devastating. And everybody was talking about it. I mean, the news was talking about it. And then all of a sudden, a couple of days later, you had the school shooting that happened in Nashville. And then all of a sudden, everybody switched to that. And then all of a sudden, there was another tornado that happened. I want to say it was in Arkansas. And then that was everybody's attention. And then all of a sudden, then the situation that happened if you're into politics with the whole Donald Trump situation. So all I'm saying is, when you have so much information out there, it's hard for you to focus on one particular thing. Or if somebody else is doing something, right, you're more focused on that particular person because they're right there in front of you. Like Saints fans start to shift their focus on Chris Olave because we look at Chris Olave as being the guy that's up next. And since Michael Thomas has been out, people aren't paying that much attention to him right now. But if he comes back and he plays at a high level, then people are going to, get back on board. But I think when it comes to Saints fans, I mean, some of them, like you got others out here that just cry about every doggone thing. But I just think that people are just frustrated with the whole Michael Thomas experience. It's kind of like the same way with Zion Williamson, right? You know the talent is there. When he's out there, he's a beast. But when he doesn't play, it's like, man, you get frustrated because you're like, man, all this talent like can come into use, especially when you see guys dropping wide open passes and can't get off the line of scrimmage. It adds to the frustration. But then you have other people out here that just loyal, with conditions, right? Man, he a beast. He a fool, man. I can't believe this, man. This dude out here killing it. He a beast. Then all of a sudden, he dropped a pass. Man, hey, TJ, you think the Saints need to cut him? Like, nah, bro. Like, you have people like that. But at the end of the day, we just live in a different world. Like, we used to admire people and love people and value their existence. And when they got hurt, we rooted for them. Like, okay, they're going to make a comeback. We never forget about it. Like, I wonder, could a guy like Michael Jordan, be as great and world-renowned as he is right now if society was like it is right now back in the 90s? Probably not, right? We valued our heroes, right? People weren't just out here just doing things for clout and clout chasing. And people weren't like out here like just posting a whole bunch of unnecessary stuff just to get our attention, right? You had a couple people out there, but, ain't nobody really paid that much attention to them. But now it's like you got so much information to absorb. You got so many people out here trying to get your attention by saying who's the best wide receiver in the NFL, who's the most talented guy out there, who's what I'm saying? Like, so you always got somebody with a top 5 falling somewhere that's subject to debate. So I think that has a lot to do with it. So that's I don't think that people forget how talented he is. I just think that we just live in this express freeway called social media world. Deadlifting has nothing to do with cutting and accelerating at all. That's why I say, I'm look, that's a great feat. I can't do it. But that's not going to help him when it comes to 2023 playing a wide receiver position. Like let's somebody try to jump on your back and you can carry him into the end zone. Maybe that'll help then. TJ will be like a big low. I ain't going to hold you long. Yeah, hey, for real. I ain't going to hold y'all long today. For real. Like it's going to be a really short episode. And, I already scheduled an episode, so I want to make sure that I still had one, but just want to let that be known. I'm glad Mike T stayed with the Saints because the Broncos could really use him and Peyton would have on his team. Well, I think that Jared Jeudy probably going to end up being that Michael Thomas for them. I think Jared Jeudy and Sean Payton could be a good combination, just like Mike T and Sean Payton was. Glad Mike stayed with us because Sean Payton will have him on his team. He still could. He still could. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know the relationship between those two. It could be one of those situations where two guys don't get along, but they understand that they're good for one another. Sometimes that happens, especially in sports. sometimes guys they don't get along, but at the same time, like you think about the production that you all could have together, and you kind of put that stuff aside. So it could be one of those situations. Happy 420, TJ. I know you don't smoke, but I'm off from work watching the show. Probably drinking a Modelo. Shout out to Jules, man. Yeah, man. Enjoy your day off, man. Enjoy your day off. Where you been, man? Jules been around. I think the issue been with Jules is I think Jules been watching the show on Facebook, and he's been like commenting throughout the time, Chemo. But I think that on the Facebook page, unfortunately, I think I may have fixed it now. But if you comment on Facebook, I don't think that it shows your name here on this streaming platform. But Jules hasn't been anywhere. Jules has always been in the chat. Just probably just been under Facebook user. Deadlift increased the power in the quads and hamstrings, which is needed to be explosive, so it has its place in helping on the field. Yeah, I mean, I think about it like, well, he did have a hamstring injury that he dealt with last offseason, so that could be a plus for him. But 530 pounds, I mean, you try to lift that thing up and not lift it up right, which he had good form. He lift from his legs and he lift from his back like some people be doing. People who listen to this show once will be a fan for a lifetime. Ghostface, I appreciate that, man. That's some very kind words. And you don't know how much I look forward to your positivity all the time. I'm glad that you're back with us. You was dealing with some things, man. Been praying for you. But I'm glad to see you in the chat, man. Glad to see you in the chat. I made Ghostface, but that's cool too. Yeah, Ghostface. Yeah, Ghostface. Yeah, shouts out to him, man. He's glad to see you here, man. Glad to see you here. What's good, SOTS Perps? What's going on, Saint? Thank you for being here. But Michael Thomas, look, we all know how talented the guy is, and he's extremely talented. I think that, I think somebody mentioned 1,200 yards. I want to say it was Derek in the chat. If it's not, I apologize. But 1,200 yards, that's not bad, right? I don't look for Michael Thomas, or I don't think we need Michael Thomas to be a 1,700-yard receiver. Now, that would be nice if he was, but at the end of the day, we don't need that as a fan base, because, I mean, you got some talented guys around him. If he can give you like 1,200, Chris Olave can give you between, 1,000 and 1,100. If Rashid Shaheed can give you about 650, 700. Like, you good. And then you got Juwan Johnson and Alvin Kamara picking up some of the slack, also. I think that you'll have yourself a really good offense, right? Derek Carr, I feel like he'll do what he needs to do to develop a chemistry with Michael Thomas. We know that Derek Carr can give him the football. Shouts out to Ross Jackson, wrote an article on yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Shouts out to my boy Ross. He talked about the chance of Derek Carr being a 4,000-yard passer, and I think that that's a realistic stat. We know that Derek Carr is talented enough to do that, and we seen Derek Carr, help Devontae Adams get about 1,700 yards last year, if I'm not mistaken. So here's the thing: I think that it's going to be a great combination, and I think that they kind of match each other's energy when it comes to Derek Carr throwing the ball and Michael Thomas catching it. Even though every quarterback that the Saints have had, when Michael Thomas is on the field, I mean, he didn't miss a beat. And that's the most impressive thing about his 2019 campaign, right? It was the fact that you had Teddy Bridgewater throwing you the football, you had Taysom Hill throwing you the football, and Drew Brees, and his stat line never wavered. So the 1,700 yards that he had that year was a combination of three quarterbacks throwing him the football and his ability to be able to be on the same page with each and every one of them. So the whole will they be on the same page type narrative that's going on, that's good for content. Good for, no disrespect, but a lazy day of sports. But in reality, I feel like it's a waste of time because Michael Thomas, to me, is just all dog. You know what I'm saying? It's just that simple. He's just all dog. He's a guy that goes out there, he makes plays. He plays with a beast mentality, plays with a chip on his shoulder once again. And he's one of those guys, that never gives up on a play. So there you go. I'm going to read a few more, and then we're going to go ahead and get up out of here, folks. Let's see. TJ, how likely is it that AK gets suspended, or do you think he avoids suspension entirely like Lattimore and Marcus May? Well, only time will tell. The lawyers that are on his team are just pushing the case back further and further and further. And I know why they're doing it. They're doing it for two reasons. They're doing it to kind of, fatigue the other team, right? Like Alvin Kamara, he has money, right? So he can pay his lawyers to stay on and all that kind of stuff and keep on pushing it back. But will this other guy be able to match that energy? And maybe that's what they're doing. They're pushing it back. They're pushing it back. They're pushing it back until maybe this guy runs out of money, or they be like, man, just forget it. We just going to drop the charges or come to like some type of settlement. Now, here's the thing. If the guy drops the charges, then there's nothing that the NFL basically can do because there are no charges against Alvin Kamara. So that's pretty much the Marcus May situation. The charges got dropped. Marshawn Lattimore, the charges got dropped, right? So there was no case. So you can't just basically say you're suspended if there is no case. So as long as there's not a case, he don't get suspended. As long as they're still trying to figure it out, he won't get suspended. And if the guy drops the case, then he will not be suspended. Now, if they settle it out in court, there is a way where they feel like that can be looked at as an admission of guilt, and that could get him, some time being suspended. But as long as those lawyers keep on pushing this case back, I don't see him getting suspended because the NFL doesn't have anything to suspend him on. But I think that's what's going on here. It seems like to me like they're trying to push this case back further and further to a point where, the opposition decides that they just, tired of this, and or maybe the guy just runs out of money, to pay his lawyers. I have a bad feeling Lamar Jackson is not coming back anytime soon. Well, look, if Lamar Jackson doesn't play for the Baltimore Ravens, they have nobody to blame but themselves. Okay, if all these quarterbacks out here getting paid, we just seen Jalen Hurts get paid. He got $179.3 million guaranteed, a 5-year, $255 million contract. Really good number, especially if you're like a player. It's a good template to use if you're trying to negotiate a contract, right? But at the same time, I just feel like the Baltimore Ravens never really believe fully in Lamar Jackson. I just don't. Like, you can tell if a team believes in a guy by the way that they operate. Trying to wrap up negotiations before like the contract is up and all that kind of stuff, and then it gets ugly and dirty and all that kind of stuff. And I just feel like they just never believed in him. And look, I can't even get mad at the man for, wanting his worth. So at the end of the day, they have to pay him. They got to pay him or allows him to go somewhere else. And I guarantee you the next team is going to pay him. My dream is to see Mike T come back healthy. I think that's all of the Saints fans' dreams out here. TJ, controversial take here. I think people's reputations are ruined simply by allegations, even if they're not guilty. Do you think cases shouldn't be open to the public until there's a verdict? No, I don't. Not today. That's just not the world we live in, King Arthur. It's not going to be like that. It never will be. Once again, we live in a world of the clout chase, and that's just how it is. You know, people chase after ambulances. They chase after celebrities. They ride on bikes and motorcycles and stuff like that to catch the right picture, catch them in a precarious situation. Like everybody, I won't say everybody, but you have a strong majority of people that will do anything for clout and credibility. And even if they didn't come out with these cases, there's always going to be somebody who probably ain't making as much money. Rather, it's a janitor that's, oh, I'm sorry, let me clean underneath this table real quick while they talking and having a meeting. Or one of those paralegals who feel like they deserve a little bit more money. And, you know, they leak something out to the media for maybe a couple $1,000s. So it's always going to be like that, regardless to if they come out with that information, put it out there or not. That's just the world that we live in. I do agree with what you're saying about, it's not innocent until proven guilty. It's guilty until proven innocent. And even when you're proven innocent, people still going to double down and say you're guilty. Man, you can never satisfy anybody. You can't satisfy everybody, I should say. You can't satisfy everybody, and that's just the way that it goes. And that's what people just gonna have to understand. You know, you have a bunch of people out here that get off, but people still mad that they got off because they feel like they're guilty, even if all of the evidence proves that they are innocent. I should say, you're never going to appease everybody. So I don't see that happening. You still gonna have court cases coming out, rather they keep them on the low or not. Jalen's agent is a black woman. Yeah, she is. As a fact, I think his entire team consists of women. So shouts out to Jalen Hurts. Giving females opportunities that they should have, of course. Like you ain't about to hear V say anything about, females and what they can't do. I was raised by a single mother, so I know what she capable of. It was 3 boys that she had to raise and my sister. So I know the strength of a woman. I know what they're capable of. So for him to, have a team like that and giving them opportunities to show what women, a lot of us already know women can do, is pretty much great. Pretty dope. All right. Let's see. Now his homeboy, on the other hand, didn't stop. I don't know what we talking about here. I think I may have missed the conversation of what people was talking about. Guess we talking about 8K maybe? Okay, TJ, follow-up question. Should there be jail time for false allegations? Yep, I believe that. I believe they should. I think about Brian Banks, right? Yeah, I think about that. Brian Banks, if y'all haven't seen that story, it was about the guy who was convicted of sexual assault. And this man spent years in prison. And it turns out that the girl lied on him, and, Brian Banks got opportunity to, play in the NFL, but who's to say that if he would have went from high school straight to USC, that he wouldn't have been one of the top players in the league or been in the league for quite a few years, right? Got a couple checks about that thing. But, I do feel that way. But, of course, we know that that's just not going to happen. It's just crazy to me that it doesn't. You would think that they should have, like, some type of, there should be, like, some type of penalty for people that lie on individuals, because you mentioned it. Some people are never going to look at that person the same way. They're not going to be able to trust that person. And it's no fault of theirs, which is unfortunate for them to have to walk around like that. I don't like that. I agree with you. I think they need to have something happen to them. I don't care who it is, like male or female. Like if you out here, lying on folk, you need to get some type of repercussions. If healthy Mike T is a monster, he and Carr can get back to throwing the ball. Who that family? I agree with that. And I think that we're all looking for that. And let's see. We'll just go ahead and end it on a positive note with Ghost. He says, best vibes to everyone. God bless you all. Time to go to work. Yeah, shouts out to Ghostface with the positivity as always. But I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Really do appreciate it. Much love to everybody here. I ask that you hit the like button if you enjoy the State of the Saints podcast. I ask you to subscribe if you have not already. And I'm encouraging everybody to please subscribe to the Gumbo Pod Sports Podcast. All you have to do is go to youtube.com, search Gumbo Pod Sports Podcast. We got about 252 subscribers. So we're trying to grow that page. We're trying to grow it. It's a sports page. It's focused on the NFL, college football. And once again, I take a lot of pride in that page, and I'm trying to grow it. So if you are into sports, some of the hottest topics in sports, like I just recently recorded an episode today focusing on Tua Tagovailoa, thinking about walking away from football. I talked about Calvin Ridley and his experience, coming back from being suspended for gambling. Also talked about C.J. Stroud getting the short end of the stick by Brady Quinn on a podcast. So those are some of the topics that are being discussed. There's several other topics as well. We did, I want to say, maybe 4 episodes this week. This will be the 4th one. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Once again, youtube.com, search Gumbo Pod Sports Podcast. Previous episode of the State of the Saints available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM. You can follow me on Twitter at TJAYJones8. And you can follow the Gumbo Pod Sports Podcast on Twitter as well at Gumbo Sports Talk. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. It's all dog around this mug. I'm good.